Hello, Miss Pam Davis. How are you?
Good. How are you, Miss Ashley?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining me for my Spirit Spotlight, where I highlight Black-owned spirits. And of course, I wanted to highlight hidden spirits. We met last year at the Black-owned Wine and Spirits Festival in DC,
Yes.
and you showed me your product. You were so enthusiastic. It was really delicious. I was pleasantly surprised. So, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for thinking about us while you're doing all of this. We're really excited about it.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about you and Hidden
I'm
Spirit.
an engineer by trade.
Okay.
And I've been in operations and supply chain for over 20 years now.
Wow.
And Hidden Spirits, as you know, is a ready to serve cocktail. We have three recipes. Two are tequila based, and one is a rum. They're all 19 to 20% alcohol, 38 to 40 proof. But the value proposition for our products is that it goes down really smooth, so you don't taste
Mhm.
the alcohol, which is
I
why
can
we
attest
call
to
it Hidden
that. Yes,
Spirits.
delicious.
Yes. It's designed to sneak up on you, and our
Mhm.
slogan is kind of why should tipsy taste bad, right?
Oh, yes. So tell me, you went from engineering to producing a spirit. Like, how did that come about?
So I actually started Hidden Spirits by mistake. I had no intention of starting a spirits company. I came up with the recipe for what we now call Hidden Spirits Lemonade that you see here
Oh, wow.
by mistake. Back in college, I was a little bit of a party girl, loved tequila, would throw back shots of tequila and, wake up the next morning not being able to tell the story. And
Tequila has that effect.
yeah. And so after getting married, two babies, and a blended family, I could not wake up the next morning and still go to work and throw back the
Right.
shot. So I was actually looking for a way to kind of mellow out my favorite liquor.
Yeah.
And it started with some homemade lemonade, and I came up with the recipe for Hidden Spirits Lemonade. And so it was this thing that we would do at like house parties and barbecues, and I would make them glass by glass for friends and family. And then all of a sudden, people would start calling me and being like, hey, can you make me some of that lemonade? And I started putting it in mason jars. Next thing I know, for about 6 months, I was a bootlegger by mistake. I didn't even know it, but I was selling them in mason jars all around the city of Cleveland.
Wow.
So yeah, so it kind of happened to me. It wasn't kind of a part of my plan.
Oh, I love that. Destiny almost.
Yeah.
So how did you go from the mason jar to the bottle?
So, a friend of mine, he made the biggest order. So I'm originally from Detroit,
Okay.
and I would take Hidden Spirits home for the holidays. And a friend of mine had like a bachelor party that he was going to, and he made like the biggest order ever. He ordered 3 cases, which was 36 mason jars, and I was so excited. Girl, I had the kids in the kitchen stirring the lemonade. That's probably not how you should do it, but
The
I
family
was,
business.
yeah. And so I got ready to load the car, take it to him, and my husband was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm taking these, my bottles. By this time we were probably like 4 or 6 months in, so I had like a full-fledged side hustle, and it was something that I did on the weekends. And that's when my husband told me, it's illegal, right? And I'm like, what? Like, what do you, what do you mean? Like, you've been watching this whole show for the past like six
Right.
months, and now you mention it. And so, like me, if you know anything about me, like I don't so much as jaywalk. Like, I am not like I'm a law-abiding citizen. So it just bothered me. And that Monday, I literally called the state of Ohio. There's a woman who runs liquor control, and she's really sweet. And I was like, I think I'm a bootlegger by mistake, and I'm trying to go legit. And so it's funny because the back of every last one of our bottles says bootlegger by mistake and tells a little bit of our story.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and so she was really sweet. And 16 months later, between calling the state, doing a lot of research on my own,
Mhm.
I mean, everything from she asked me, like, well, what percent alcohol is it and what proof is it? And I was like, it has tequila in it. And I have no idea. So I had to learn all of that myself. But I think the engineering background, kind of that problem solver and figure it out, encouraged me to keep going. So 16 months later, we had a legit liquor license. We were out of the kitchen, and had our
Wow.
own 350 square foot little manufacturing space in Hudson, Ohio. And we launched at a I Love the 90s concert in Cleveland.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
So you have your own manufacturing space, like
Yep.
where you manufacture your own bottles.
Yep.
Wow. So you're doing everything.
Yeah, we are one of probably the few, minority owned spirits companies in the United States that actually manufacture our own products. We don't import anything. We import our tequila and our spirits, but we kind of mix and infuse all of our stuff to get it into the bottle ourselves.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive. Really
yeah.
impressive. And you did all that in a year and a half or a year, a couple of
Yeah, it took us about 16 months. The hardest part of the process, and we launched with the lemonade,
Mhm.
and the other recipes came over time due to peer pressure. But we launched with the lemonade, and the hardest part of the process, going from me starting to make it in glasses to all of a sudden going into mason jars and then into like 5 gallon containers and things like that, was learning how to scale it up. And at the time in my career, I just happened to work for a chemical company. And so I learned a little bit more about scaling, and we were able to take the product up, start bottling it ourselves, and kind of go from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's almost like your experience was sort of prepping you for this new venture.
Yeah,
That's,
it was the Lord, child. It was the Lord.
yeah. So, did you have investors? Like, how did you, get that sort of capital off the ground? I mean, I know people are
Oh.
looking at this and wonder, like, how do you go from selling in a mason jar to owning your own manufacturing plant where you now sell your own alcohol? Like, how
Yeah.
does money work?
So the honest answer is being naive. So I had no investors. I'm actually still 100% owner of Hidden Spirits Cocktails, and it all came from my savings account, my 401k, like small
Wow.
business loans. Yep. And we just made it to a point where at the end of 2019, I decided to start a seed round and start raising capital for the business. One thing I always said was like, like if I lose my own money, I can, go back to work, recover from it, all of that. But I didn't want to lose like my friends and family money.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was a little nervous. I had people over the years who asked me about investing in the company, and I was like, I don't know. But, we've grown so much. We're in over 50 retail locations, we're in 7 cities. And so seeing the progress and kind of going from that point where only your friends and family love the product to now like other people that don't know you and they don't have to lie to you,
Right.
like they actually like the product. It gets us to a point. So we're actually in the process of trying to raise funding right now, so that,
Oh,
we can scale and grow the business a lot faster.
awesome. So if you're watching this interview, hit up Hidden
Yes,
Spirits
call
and
me.
so you can, help them out. Wow, that's awesome. How you almost bet on yourself.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
you make that decision?
Yeah, not really knowing any better. Like, I mean, when I started, it was just like trying not to be illegal. So it was really about, it was one of those things where it was just like a snowball, right? So it went from, okay, well, I can't do this in my kitchen. Let me look for a space. And, having worked in corporate America, I learned a lot over the years about, and I kind of put a little budget together, but, I don't have a finance background, so it was just like constantly just pouring money. And then as you watch it, it's kind of like another kid. Like as you watch it grow, it's like, okay, well, I have to buy clothes and I have to buy food, and you just keep pouring into it. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I got to put it in private school now. And so it's just like one of those things that as you continue to grow and then you see what the potential is. I mean, this is a $1.4 trillion a year market. Um, and so you see what the potential is, and you're like, wait, like, okay, I need to continue to invest. And so it got to a point where for me to go from where we are to where we need to be, I said, okay, let me start to go back to those investors and kind of take capital. But it was really just like savings account, small business loan, and just kind of believing in the product and then really paying attention to our customers. So that's one thing I pride myself on is I listen to my retail partners, I listen to our customers. I talk about the second and the third recipe being peer pressure, but it was a customer. Like I wasn't planning on. I was like, "Do you know how hard I worked on this lemonade? I am not trying to launch a new product." But
Right.
we would do the wine festivals and our customers were like, well, what else do you have? This is so good. It's a great concept. We love it. You should do this. And so just kind of listening to the market and listening to the people that love the product, we came out with the strawberry in 2017 and then the apple spice in 2018.
Tell me about your entrance into the spirits industry, like as a Black woman. Like, how do you feel like being Black has impacted your ability to get your product on the shelves or not?
Yeah. So it's definitely harder for Black owned spirits companies. And I think I got exposed to that on a deeper level when I participated in my first year of the Black owned spirits festival in the DC area. Up until that point, like I've always been like the only little Black girl in my engineering classes, the only, African American female in the boardroom in corporate America. So being the only woman and being the only Black in the room is something that I was used to from the time I was an undergrad all the way throughout my career. So that didn't like hit me as strongly because I think there were probably instances where maybe I was facing racism, but I was just so you just become dormant and used to it that you just you don't even notice it, you just kind of adapt or whatever. And the interesting thing is our manufacturing facility is in a predominantly white suburb. And so a lot of times people would walk into the showroom and they would meet me. They would assume that I'm like a brand ambassador or work for the
Mhm.
company. And my whole goal was to figure out, do you like the product? Right. So a lot of times I would lead by not saying I'm the owner, just kind of talking about the product and saying, hey, I work for the company. And then as the conversation went on and they'd ask more, they, be like, oh, by the way, I'm the owner, right? Dealing with the shock of that. But one thing that's always been important to me, especially when growing the business, is I wanted to compete on a global scale, and I wanted to compete with the larger spirits brands, the Skinny Girl Martinis, the Ciroc, the Hennessy. And so I kind of like shied away from it being more of like a Black owned company to, hey, I just want to have a really good product and I want everybody to love it. And so when I went to the Black owned spirits festival for the first time, just being around other founders and listening to some of the challenges and just how hard it was to get into retail space. I have a pretty generic name, and I call it probably like my Caucasian voice over the phone. Like you can't really tell that necessarily an African American female. So a lot of times when calling on retailers, they didn't know, and then by the time they tried the product, it was just like, all right, well, we'll try it, we'll carry it. And sometimes it was an added bonus and sometimes it was a big surprise. So I think really listening to some of my peers in the space and their challenges and then reflecting on my journey was when I realized, yeah, like maybe this is harder, but I honestly had gotten so used to it throughout most of my life that it just really didn't hit me as hard early on.
That's interesting you bring that up because I had the exact same experience. I was a
Hmm.
finance major, and throughout growing up, I was in advanced classes, and I get to college
Hmm.
and finance. There weren't a lot of Black people in that space,
Yep.
and so I absolutely relate to what your experience has been. And even when I started my blog 6 years ago, I wanted
Hmm.
it to be a blog for everyone, and so you think you want to appeal to everyone, but as you continue to grow and realize, like, you're almost hiding your voice a little bit,
Hmm.
like hiding the
Hmm.
totality of who you are. And so, yeah, I completely recognize that feeling. But and
Yeah.
I met you at the Black Owned Wine and Spirits Festival because I think even me, that last year was my first time going, even me seeing
Hmm.
that many Black owned spirits producers, I had no idea that there were that many Black owned spirits in the world. No idea. And I would
Girl.
have all of them, I'm sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
No.
yeah, so I think it's important for us to, have that community,
Hmm.
so that we can all learn from each other and help each other grow. Yeah, so I love
And
that.
so the first year me and my aunt showed up, we had a booth. It was amazing. It was kind of like you said, it was like, oh my goodness, like I thought I was alone and I'm not. And there's all
Yeah,
these really cool, and just seeing the fraternities and the sororities and the line dancing and the products and the food, and just kind of being immersed in your culture and being a part of something wonderful like that. And even we went again, of course, the next year, and being able to grow our business by working more closely with Foodray. It's just so empowering, and it's so like it's been phenomenal for us. And so it's definitely an event that we love every single year, but it also made me passionate, similar to you, about just getting the word out there, right? And we're actually working on a mobile app right now called the Black Bar, where we want to feature other Black owned wine, spirits, beer, maybe eventually bars and restaurants, but everybody in the spirit space, creating a mobile app that allows you to find where they are, not just in your neighborhood, but in your stores and things like that.
awesome. Yes, I followed the Black Bar a couple of days ago on Instagram. So
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing how that pans out for you. Um, so would you have done anything differently on your journey to Hidden Spirits?
Oh my goodness, girl, yes. I've made so many five-figure mistakes.
Expensive.
Yeah, some expensive mistakes along the way. And I mean, technically, we're still in our startup phase. So we launched in the summer of 2016. So we've been out in the market for, about 4 years now. But, even from the process of just doing my liquor license myself, like hindsight is 2020. I think it took me 2 years to find out that there were liquor attorneys, like attorneys that just specialize in liquor law. And I'm up here trying to read the legal book. Like, like I got a degree in law, like just silly stuff like that. Like, so there's so many mistakes that I've made along the way, but it's all a part of the journey and our story. If I could do it all over, I definitely wouldn't change one thing about our story. And I'm really excited about just where we're going as a company.
So where are you going? Like, what is next for Hidden Spirits?
Girl, so much. So we are in the process of actually moving again, and we were very lucky that I made that decision right before COVID hit the United States. And so we are transferring our liquor license. We're going to go back to our core. The showroom model didn't really work for us, and it actually started to kind of starve the retail side of our business. So we're going back to our core and just having a facility that has manufacturing, no showroom. Um, we're also working on our fourth recipe, and it is going to be a celebrity collaboration. So I'm
Ooh.
really excited
Ooh.
about that.
Are
Yeah.
you gonna share
So
who and what and
I
when?
cannot. I cannot.
Okay, I
So
tried.
a lot of the timing has to do with when we finish the seed round, but a lot of the money that we're trying to raise right now has to do with sort of the lessons learned over the last couple of years. And the interesting thing is we've grown as much as we have, and I probably spent $2 in marketing, right? So one of the things that we've been lucky is a lot of our sales and a lot of our exposure has come from word of mouth, and kind of leveraging opportunities like this where people kind of find the product or they experience the product and they reach out to us. But I don't have a PR person, I don't have a marketing person. My background is in supply chain and operations. I don't know nothing about
Mhm.
marketing, but we found that branding and marketing was a gap in our business. So kind of structuring to take our overhead costs down so that we can reinvest that into a whole branding and marketing team is something that we're working on. We have a celebrity in mind that we would love to work with. And we also have like some flavor profiles that we're playing around with because we try to take spirits that women don't traditionally like. So, like our tequila, of course, like our rum, a high proof rum that we use. And so we're playing around with some whiskeys and some bourbons for our next recipe. So we have some ideas, but we're really excited about that. And we're hoping that that allows us to grow nationally. We're also working on a direct to consumer model. So, because spirits is state regulated in the state of Ohio, you are not allowed to sell online. And so that's why you couldn't buy our product and have it shipped to your house. Wine in some states you can, but if it actually has spirits in it or spirits as a base, there is only select states where you can do that. And so we're working on our licensing to be able to go to direct to consumer until we can build up that national buzz just to be able to get our product in more people's hands. And then we have the Black Bar app, mobile app that we have coming out. We also have our first recipe book called Cocktails and Comfort Food.
Oh.
So yeah, we have a lot going on. I'm trying to figure out when I sleep, child. It's,
I mean, you'll sleep when you're in every store in America.
yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
do you have full-time employees? Like, what is your company structure like?
So right now our company is structured with five, I call them like part full-time employees, like they're actually part-time. We kind of went with the Target model. So I don't know if you know, Target doesn't let anybody work over 30 hours a week.
I didn't know that,
And
but
so, yeah, yeah, so and it helps them when it comes to benefits and things like that. So most of our employees that actually work for Hidden Spirits are part-time employees, and that's kind of like my main team of five. And then our brand ambassadors are private contractors, and then we have other private contractors to help us with other stuff. So like even before I recruit I like to recruit a CBO, a chief brand officer, and build out a team for them. But I've actually identified a marketing firm. It's actually another Black owned marketing firm out of the Atlanta area who's going to help us with building up our brand until we can find like the right CBO and build out that team. So we kind of work with, people and other businesses.
awesome. So how do we get Hidden Spirits on our shelves? Like, what should people know? Like, how can they demand it in their stores?
So you have to drive on 90 headed west. No, I'm just kidding. So definitely, if you are in Northeast Ohio, the Columbus, Cincinnati area, it's a lot easier to get our products because we are on shelves. I think, like I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of stores in the DMV area, and we actually have a retailer in the DMV that does sell online. And so I can send you a link for you to put in the show notes for
Yeah, I
people.
will, for
So
sure.
if they want to buy online, they can buy through one of our Maryland distributors. Go to our website, or if you reach out to any of us on our social media pages, so at Hidden Spirits Cocktails, either on Instagram or Facebook, which is all on our website. We will, kind of ask you where you are and point you in the right direction. And hopefully by the end of this year, you'll be able to buy direct off of our website or through one of our retail partners.
When actually I reached out to you for this interview, I was like, oh man, I remember tasting it with you. And I remember it being so hot and so busy that day, but like you made me feel
Hmm.
so special talking to me about your products. I was like, yes, I love this. Like I loved how outgoing you were. So I'm happy to, spread your message to the masses as wide as I can. Um,
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's actually my favorite thing. I still cannot get over like people's initial reaction because a lot of people are like tequila. Oh, wait, no, I'm good.
yeah,
And sometimes just with mixed drinks, they're like, oh, is it going to be sweet or
yeah.
and so I love everyone's kind of initial reaction. I love when people are like, "Oh no, I don't drink tequila, but you drink Hidden Spirits," and so
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite
So
things.
happy we had a chance to chat. I love hearing about your journey and I love hearing about how it's almost destiny, sort of where you've ended up. I look forward to seeing what happens and getting some hidden spirits near me soon.
Yes.